Property Patriot, you are cleared hot.
Welcome to the Aim High Podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans, and today's guest is Kyle Root. Kyle's a real estate prodigy from Green Bay, Wisconsin. He started in 2019 at 24. Kyle has amassed over 80 rental units, focusing on single-family to four-unit properties. Here are my key takeaways for this episode. First, the effectiveness of house hacking for initial property acquisitions. Second is the power of the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, in scaling your investments. And third, navigating market changes with strategic refinancing and debt management. Join us as Kyle shares his rapid journey to success in real estate, where we provide real estate investors with the tools to achieve generational wealth. This is the Aim High Podcast, episode number 61. Good day, high flyers, and welcome to the Aim High Podcast. I am your host, Bud Evans. Today, I am joined by Kyle Root. How are you today, Kyle?
Good, Bud. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, man. Hey, listen, we have some mutual friends, but can you do me a favor and just give me a quick introduction?
Yeah. So Kyle Root, born and raised in Michigan, live in Green Bay, Wisconsin now. Currently sit around 80 rental units, doing about 1 to 2 flips a month. And just, growing the business. Started back in 2019 and got Jen Josie connected, you and I. Great person. So that's just a little bit about me.
Dude, that's a little bit of a lot. You started in 2019. How old are you now?
29.
29. So I got to go ask my son, what are you doing? I'll be 32. Listen, man, over 80 rentals in 5 years.
Correct.
That is awesome. Is that primarily single family? Is it multifamily?
Yeah, it's all 1 to 4 units. I own 1 4-plex, 2 3-plexes, and everything else is a combination of single families and duplexes.
Yeah. How did you start collecting properties?
Yeah, great question. How I started is not how the same method that got me here. And one of the greatest underutilized methods that I believe is house hacking. And that's what I did for my first 3 rental properties, or 3 rental units rather. I bought a side-by-side duplex. So that was my first one, house hacked. I think at the time they required 15%. Now they dropped to 5%, but 15% renovated, lived in one side, did that for my first duplex. Did the same thing with a single family home, rented out the bedrooms. But that was over a course of probably a year. And I realized that, man, I'm going to have to house hack forever in order to get out of this, right? That's what I started dipping into, understanding private money, hard money lenders, and finding quick underwriting, having the capacity to offer cash. Even though it's not my cash, it was still cash through private lenders. And long story short, it's a well-known method, the BRRRR method, right? You buy with other people's money or your money or whatever it is, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. And once that light bulb clicked for me at the end of 2019, early 2020, the market where I'm at, I buy primarily Green Bay, Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and then starting to dip into some other areas. But at the time, you could buy properties for 50, 60,000, stick 10, 15 grand into it and cash flow $200-300 all day. And you could cash out refinance, get 5 or 10 grand back. And when you're able to do that, you can scale that volume. Now, it's a little bit different with interest rates and what the market is doing today. So I had to make some corrections. But I would say there was a combination of right time, right place. But I also don't want to remove the fact that I had to do the work, right? You can be right time, right place, but you have to capitalize on that. Really utilize the BRRRR method to get to where I am.
Awesome. And then, so now just taking that and running with it, what are you finding the differences are? How are you handling those interest rate increases? The materials increases, the difficulty finding labor. How are you handling all that stuff?
Yeah. I think that one of the things maybe 6 to 8 months ago that we had to understand is our margins are just going to be tighter. They are what they are. I was lucky to be able to build up enough cash flow over the last 2-3 years where I didn't necessarily need to be a heavy cash flow investor. If I could make $100 a unit, I'm okay doing that today because I know if I can lock in on 30-year debt and be at 7-8% interest rate and still cash flow, really, if you're making $100 a month, you're not making anything. But $100 a month, I know in 3 to 5 years, if I have 10, 15, 20, 30 properties that I can refinance from 7-8% down to 5%, 4%, my cash flow is going to go through the moon. So really our strategy hasn't changed. We just accepted a much smaller margin, knowing that in 3 to 5 years, it's going to pay out big time. And over 3 to 5 years, we're paying down debt. And one of the things that people don't talk about is as you pay down debt, like a lot of people right now are talking about rate term refinances in the future. If interest rates go down, if however we want to look at it, right? When interest rates drop. But what you've also done over the course of 3, 5, 7 years during this pay down, you pay down your principal. So not only am I going to refinance my rate, if you just refinance your rate, you're still paying at the current debt amount that you were at 3, 5, 7 years ago. So I'm going to refinance the rate. I'm going to keep the same payoff schedule, but I'm going to refinance at the current debt amount so that I'm gaining on interest, gaining on changing the debt amount that I'm taking out through the loan's eyes. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to throw a cliche at you because it's exactly what you're doing. Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Even Dave Ramsey's saying, what are you waiting for? Go out there and buy a property and then refinance when the rates come down.
Hey, if he's saying that,
and that's Dave Ramsey. He's don't spend, don't leverage, don't do anything, buy everything cash. And he's still saying, go out and buy it now and then refinance when rates go down. He's even talking about leverage right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's impressive. But dude, there are people that would die to have a $100 per unit for 80 units every month coming in $8,000 in cash flow. The average answer that I get when I ask somebody, hey, what's your number? What are you looking for per month that sets you financially free? It's somewhere between 5 and 10,000.
Oh yeah. Like as far as what they need to walk away from their job type thing.
Exactly.
For sure. And that's what I tell everybody too. Like when I ask people, like, they're like, when can I leave my job? And I'm like, what are your expenses? And whatever, like I tell people, whatever your expenses are, just multiply it by 2. And that's a good number to shoot for because there's going to be things that come up. But even in today's climate, if you can learn how to do some of these different avenues as far as wholesaling, flipping, Airbnbs, if you can add in 1 or 2 other avenues, and I'm not saying do all of them because I'm an advocate on picking 1 or 2 and chasing those, not going down a long rabbit hole of doing different avenues because I think it's hard to be great at something when you're trying to do everything right.
Right.
But to get $5,000 to $7,000 a month in cash flow with the right Airbnbs, a couple flips, long-term rentals, it's not unreasonable to accomplish in a few years, even in today's climate. So I still encourage people to buy. And like you said, hey, Dave Ramsey's telling people, that means something.
Yeah. Dude, I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if you got to get yourself up to 20 doors as fast as possible, cash flow is somewhere around $500 a month. There's your 10,000. You know,
sure.
Now if you choose to keep your job and you snowball that, your mortgages are paid off in 3 to 5 years. Now you're making 20,000 a month.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? Just go.
I agree. And the thing is if you get in the right groups, you and mutual friend Jen, like you guys coaching people, there's so many different strategies out there. Like the day and age of putting 20% down on a property and having 150, 200 grand left in the deals, it doesn't have to be done anymore. There's seller carrybacks. There's Pace Morby. He's famous for not carrying any bank debt. There's so many different ways to go about doing it. You just got to figure out what your lane is. However you want to purchase and renovate, whatever your lane is, pick it and just chase down it until you figure out what you want to do. Because 90% of investors that start, we all want to leave our job. It's what people want. People want to be able to leave their job, be financially free from the man, if you will. And you just got to figure out what that is, pick your avenue and start running down it. And like you said, like 20 units, you're playing ball for sure.
Yeah. My son was like, Dad, I want to stop at 10 or at 5. He said 5. And I said, no, don't go to 10. Yeah. Let's get you to 10 units and have them pay down. And then he's a respiratory ICU assistant director at a teaching hospital here. So I'm like, you get to 10, and by the time you are eligible for retirement, if you've refinanced those things, you're making 10,000 a month. Like there's, without question, you're making 10,000 a month. So then you get your pension, you got an additional 10,000 a month. Thanks for playing. You've got whatever you've been putting aside because you've been making $5, $7, $10,000 over the course of time. Just go, man.
Yeah. And I bet for your son, I bet he'd get to 10 and he'd have an itch to get to 11 and then to get to 12. And then it just starts going. I know there is some people out there that are very just, I want to get to this number count, pay off the debt and be good, which is great. It's like I've talked to my brother before and he's like, I just want to buy one in cash. And then every 2-3 years, I just want to buy one in cash and then just let it sit there. He's very like not comfortable with debt, which to me, I would never advise it, but I'm like, dude, if that's what you want to do, real estate's great. Go do it. But yeah, I think that once people start getting a few under their belt, they're like, man, this is pretty nice. And then they just start skyrocketing.
Wait, let me see. So I don't have to pay my car payment anymore.
Yeah.
330 Garfield's going to pay my car payment. Okay, let's go get 331 Garfield and buy a bigger car.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to need a bigger boat. That type of thing.
Yep.
So I am a BRRRR fan. So you're speaking my language. And how I started out was flipping, and you're doing 1 to 2 per month. Is that bringing in per month, or how long is your average? How long is your average turn on a flip right now?
Yeah. So from the time that we close to the time it hits the market, right? So you have 30 days of escrow period, but the time we close to the time it hits the market, we're probably 45 to 60 days. But one of the things that I'll say about that is my background is in construction. So I went to school for construction management. I have a construction company, and that's really why we're able to do this so quickly. Is really a lot of people will say, what's the foundation of real estate investing? And a lot of people say property management, acquisitions. Ours is 100% construction. Like we don't lack in resourcing or sourcing deals. Like we get plenty of deals that come in, but we have been able to separate ourselves because of the construction company. And I say ourselves because it's just not me anymore. You can't, It's tough to get to 80 units in this short period of time by
you got to have a team. So, you got to have a team. Yeah. Now, just out of curiosity, since you brought up sourcing, how are you sourcing the majority of your deals right now?
Yeah, it probably blow people away, but 90 to 95% of our deals come right off the MLS.
There you go, man. There you go.
Yeah. And one of the things that we didn't want to do is I see trend that there's no good deals, right? Everyone's saying you have to go off market. You have to have cold callers, direct mail marketing campaigns. You have to be cold calling. And I'm like, okay. Warren Buffett said, when everyone's looking left, you look right. And I was like, okay, there's got to be something here. So we just started looking at deals on the MLS. And when I first started, it was back in like 2019. Yeah, 2019 is when I basically started. End of 2019, 2020 is when I started the BRRRR method. And I'm like, I don't want a bunch of overhead. I don't want a big acquisition company. I don't want a bunch of people saying, Kyle, you got to go meet with Jane. Her mother just passed away. I didn't want my time to be spent chasing off market deals, tons of overhead, big marketing campaigns. I didn't want that. We started looking at deals on the MLS, offered on 4, and we got 1. It's like, okay, we're getting 25% right now. That's all the data we had. Month 1, 25%. Okay. After 6 months, we're at 20%. After a year, we're at 15%. So it's okay. We have a year's worth of data knowing that we're getting about 15% of the offers that we put in. And it's all about KPIs and numbers, right? So if we know that we need 2 deals, we need to put in 12 to 15 offers for us to make that happen, right? And that's what we knew. So we widened our, right now we were just buying like in Green Bay area, Wisconsin. And we're like, well, in order for us to build this out, we need to widen our footprint. So we just kept widening our footprint across the state of Wisconsin, broadening the team, and we just increased the volume of offers we did. I would pay realtors a small fee for going to look at these properties, pulling the information we needed. And I had one acquisition guy, and we were doing, it was the end of last year, I think was our peak. And we did 6 transactions in December and November, and it was all through purchases off the MLS.
That's beautiful, man. I find it amazing that people are, oh, what are you doing to acquire deals? I do things. I talk to agents and I talk to wholesale. I'm an agent myself, but I outsource that. I'm like, okay, bring me a deal. Cool. I'll pay you. I don't care. I'll pay you 3%, dude. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the way I am with wholesalers too. Everyone's all caught up in arms about their acquisition fee.
Don't
Like,
care.
well, yeah,
Bring me a
if
deal
they
that
get,
flows and I'm good.
exactly. If they make 25 grand, it's, if you're going to complain about it, then you go do it. But
Yeah.
I would rather not. Like they have small acquisition fees. There's some that they only make 5 grand and who knows if it even covers their marketing budget and they have to show up to work and cold call every day. If the numbers work, don't care. I don't care where that number comes from. I don't care where the deal comes from. It works.
Yeah. I've got a wholesaler who told me flat out, he's like, dude, I don't touch a deal unless I'm making 15 to 20,000. I was like, cool. What? Really? I was like, yeah, nope. It's not a magic pill, dude. I know you're in work. I know you're paying for your dialer. I know you're paying for your CRM. I know you got 3 callers. I know you're doing this. I know you're doing that. Go, you do that. And I'll be more than happy to pay it. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man.
For me, and we're golden. Since then, he's brought me 11 doors.
Oh, nice. Everyone's winning too. He's happy to bring them to you. You're happy to take them.
And the seller's happy. I have a seller who calls me probably once a quarter to thank me. Really? I'm not kidding you. He's like, hey man, I really want to thank you for taking that off my hands. I was having such a hard time keeping it up. Okay. It's a five unit property. Easy.
Oh, that's what it's all about. Like when I do some like coaching and stuff, like group coaching and stuff. And like when I think once you reach a certain point and once you see other people start winning or like you've taken something off their plate and they're just so thankful that you provided them the information,
right?
It starts becoming less about you, right? And that's really what's so great about the real estate industry is some people get themselves into a bind and there might be someone out there that's looking for that exact property that you're trying to offload. And that's what I love about real estate. Is if everyone can win in the transaction, it's nice to see.
Yeah, man, it's all about collaboration over competition, and we're all in this together. So the cliche after cliche is coming out of my mouth right now. I can't even believe it.
I love it.
It's absolutely true. It's what I preach. I have a property management company now, and the actual motto for our property management company is we're all in this together. Yeah. And by the way, we keep our tenants for long periods of time too. Not a commercial, just saying it out loud because I've had some of my tenants I've had for 5 years.
That's incredible.
Right? Because we talk.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? What are you seeing? You know, how the filter's looking in the HVAC system. We're coming out to inspect in 3 months. Is that cool? All right, great. I'll put it on your calendar. But anyway, so the point is that if you're helping someone out, is there anything better that you've noticed doing your group training than watching the light bulb going on for someone and them getting their first deal?
No, honest to God, there's nothing better. And I tell my wife this all the time, how I actually get more excited when I get another deal. I'm just like, okay, great. Let's push it through the funnel. But when I see someone else starting to create their funnel and they get a property and they see it all the way through, they're renovating it, they're putting the work in and it's rented, they're cash flowing. I'm just like, this is what it's all about. Like, it's amazing to see other people take the initiative too. And that's the thing is, I hate when people say real estate's a passive. And I apologize if you say that real estate's passive, but I hate when people say real estate investing is passive. I think if you are getting into real estate because you think it's passive, you're going to fail at the business.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a thumbprint on it. And that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, if you're getting in this so you can retire early, you're going into the wrong business. The only way to do that is through a REIT or fund a syndication or something. But I'm like, if you're going to own rental property,
being a private money lender are the two fastest ways to go passive. But even then, you're still tracking the deal. You're still going to webinars and meetings, and still, it is
for sure. And that's what's so cool about seeing people that actually want it and they push for it and they start stacking units. I'm just like, man, it's incredible. Yeah, there's nothing better.
It's not about the passivity. It's about the fact that you can pick up and decide to go to Aruba 5 days before you decide to go. You know what I mean? It's, hey, did it this year in August. I picked up the phone, called my wife. She was at work. I'm like, yeah, I need a break. Let's go to Aruba. She's like, what? I'm like, I can only go for 5 days. And she's like, okay. So we came home on a Monday. We left on Thursday. That was it. Game over. We flew down there. No big deal. And being able to do that is huge.
For sure. Flexibility of schedule is massive. And That's what I love about it is you can start your day when you want, you can end it when you want, but somewhere in there, there's got to be a level of work involved, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I love about it is I know what I need to accomplish every single week to be moving the business forward. Anything really outside of what is required for me and what I expect out of myself, I just enjoy it. Like, and there's no one telling me, Kyle, you have to be here at 8 and leave at 5. And to be honest, I get more accomplished in my own business in 4 hours than I did for any corporate company in the matter of 12. We've just, as a society, pushed towards working a 40-hour work week, not really measuring our productivity, just measuring the time involved into a certain business. And it's just a silly way to look at it, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree, man. Listen, the 40-hour work week was created by Henry Ford for the industry. And it's the industrial age is what created the 40-hour work week. And it's what created the modern education system. I'm not going to go down that path, but right. I have students and friends who are in the trades right now that are making more
nice.
the first, while everybody else is going off to college and spending $100,000. They're making $100,000 per year for the 4 years, turning around and investing that money. And then by the time that they get to their 20, 30 years in the industry, they're busted up a little bit, but it's no different than me being in the military. When they get out, they've got a huge nest egg and a bunch of cash flow.
For sure. And they have a massive skill set. Like I went the college route and I came out after 4 years or 4.5 years, went and worked for a job. I'm like, okay. I literally was going through training on the site, so construction. And I'm like, I literally don't even know what I'm doing here. You have some like basis foundations of what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I just spent $60,000 going to a school. Yeah. Anyways, we could go down a rabbit hole here.
Preaching to the choir, man. I have a degree in finance, a minor in accounting, and an MBA. And you know what I knew about money when I got out? Nothing.
Yeah. I bet you learned tons though working for an accountant. That's what I wish I would have had a better understanding coming out of school or even working for someone just through like accounting, tax code, finances, like just stuff you don't learn.
Apprenticeships, man. I'm in. Let's start something. Here you go.
For sure.
Business idea. We're going to do apprenticeship.
I love it.
Awesome. All right, man. So every BRRR is a flip. Every flip is a flip, but not every flip is a BRRR. Right?
Yep.
All right. So what are you finding as far as your flips go? Are you running into any nightmare stories?
I think right now, no. I wouldn't say I have a bunch of nightmare stories at the moment, but I will say that we definitely ran into situations of unforeseen, right? Just like anybody. And for me, living in the Midwest, and I don't know if you've heard, but everyone is pretty familiar with the Michigan basement. Foundations out here are a disaster. Water drainage, it's always sitting up against the foundation, gets cold, pipes freeze, pipes burst, etc. And that's what we deal with here. So I would say most of my problems are with foundation structural problems. But the thing is I'm willing to take those on because we can self-perform them. And we bring in a structural engineer. We've coupled with a structural engineer here. He'll come in, give us the calculations, recommendations that are needed. And we've jacked houses up. We've had them up on stilts. We've poured the foundation, set them down. We've really done everything. And I bring that back to just my construction background and having the ability to self-perform. But I would never advise someone to go down that route. It's just not necessary. And for us, we wanted to keep stacking units. We wanted to keep stacking flips. And while everybody else wouldn't take projects on, I would just go run the numbers. I would look at it and be like, okay, they're asking for 60. Guys, I can give you 20,000. That's what I can do. And I had no shame in offering well below. And we got tons of them that way. So we still were buying them. Our turnaround time obviously was closer to 4 to 6 months when you start dealing with foundation and structural problems. But really nothing really scared me just because I had a pretty good understanding of what was going to be needed at these properties. And like I would say if someone's starting out, just find cosmetic updates, have a strong structural fundamental for the property and just look for cosmetics. As you get some experience, I don't want to say getting cute, if you will, but you can start finding some new things that, hey, if this beam is on a plumb. This is what we can do. You'll just start learning. But
Right.
I wouldn't let your first or second property, long story short, be a massive renovation, because the variance of 5 to 10% could bury someone. And if I've heard way too many stories of people, their first investment being bad and they never did it again. And I would hate for someone to get into that.
Right. All right. So Kyle, I'm going to ask you before we get into the Soaring 4, what's your takeaway as your wealth increased?
Yeah, I would say that I don't want to say money doesn't matter, because money does matter. Money definitely helps you navigate problems easier. But I would say as money continued to stack and wealth continued to grow, it did change who I was as an individual. Like, it definitely didn't make me happier. It definitely didn't bring this sense of accomplishment that I thought I was going to have once I was financially free and able to leave my job. I think I quickly found that for me, originally I was going down this path selfishly. And once I started doing things not for me, and you hear this all the time, you hear people, they started off selfishly doing it for them. And then once they started doing stuff for other people, more wealth started coming their way. Yeah. And that was really the transition for me. It's great. Don't get me wrong. I think everyone should try to chase as much wealth as they possibly can. But if you're trying to find something in that wealth, I don't think you're ever going to find it.
No, it's got to be intrinsic, right?
For sure.
Great point, man. All right. Soaring 4 are the same 4 questions I ask every guest that can help someone who is just starting out achieve new heights. So question number 1 is, what do you use to keep you motivated?
I think I just stay within my structure. I don't necessarily rely on motivation, but rather discipline. I pretty much keep my day in and day out the same. And it's not painful. I get up at the same time. I take care of myself. I work out. I eat the right stuff. And that's already setting myself up for success, right? Just keeping care of my body, putting the right stuff in. It helps me operate at a high level. And I just rely on discipline. I set realistic goals. I just try to inch forward every single day. I don't set things 10 years out. I want to be a billionaire. Like, I keep small goals ahead of me. I chase them. I remain disciplined. And to be honest, I don't know if I would say more times than not, I don't have motivation, to be honest. Really, like, when I wake up, I feel really excited to go throughout my day, but there's always these micro times where I have no motivation. And it's just, I know what's on the opposite side of a certain task. Long story short, I rely on discipline, not so much motivation. Because if it was motivation, I wouldn't be here with you today.
Yeah, man. I coached hockey for 20 years, and I used to say, I can motivate
you get it.
Right? Yeah, I can motivate you for seconds, but once that first shift is over, it relies on everything we've done in practice. So that's a great point. All right. What is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
Yeah, it's a good one. I heard this from, I think it was Alex Ramosi, but he said, we don't have an information problem. We have an implementation problem. Mm-hmm. And the time between gathering the information and implementing it, the person that can do it the fastest is going to win. And that's one of the things that I learned for myself is, like, when you have an idea, either go down the avenue and work it quickly, or go down the avenue and get rid of it quickly. But don't just sit on information. Implement it quickly, and you're going to be able to find, like, is it trash or is it good? And just keep, as you bring in information, go down the right avenue, get rid of it, or go down the same avenue and continue to implement it. But just not being in an information gathering period for too long. I would say that's it.
Awesome, man. What are some tools that you use to keep you on track?
Yeah, so I actually have a calendar and a task list, and it's basically like a big binder, if you will. And every single day I write down my 5 tasks that I want to complete for the day. Like, a lot of people will write down a 30-page to-do list. I just write down 5. I write down 1 that really moves the needle, like really pushes the company forward. And the other 4 I call maintenance tasks, whether it's cleaning up emails, making my calls, whatever it might be, getting on podcasts, things like that, right? They're like maintenance items, not things that are really going to be like, all right, let's start implementing this system into our business. And just writing stuff down, keeping a strong calendar, and just writing down those 5 tasks every single day. And I cross them off as I get them done, put W at the top, and then I don't have it on me, but I could show you every single month. at the end of every month, I give myself a grade scale. If I won 26 out of 31 days equals whatever, 90 something percent.
Yeah.
And so I can look back and it's like historical data. It's like, Kyle, when were you winning the most? March and April. Okay. What were you winning in March and April? You were winning at 92%. And I come from like a football background, and I think that I always just need a scorecard, right? Like a scoreboard to look back on. So yeah, that's what I do to keep me straight and narrow, if you will.
That's awesome, man. I use KPIs for everybody else, but I don't really do it for myself. That's a really good point. I'm going to have to implement that. Awesome.
Yeah, nice.
All right. And what is one thing that if you had to start all over that you would change?
Yeah, I probably would have stayed at my job a little bit longer. I left my job pretty early in the process, and it ran into some refinance problems. So I was getting into some debt that wasn't overly favorable. I was sitting maybe around 7 units, and I was flipping as well. So like I had money put away when I left my job, but I would have stayed at my job just probably another year, just strictly to be able to refinance into some better long-term debt. Like I've got some like 20-year loans that really hurt my cash flow. At the end of the day, hindsight's 2020, right? Like if I never left my job, would I be at 80 some units? Who knows? But looking back, that's probably one thing that I would have done that wouldn't have been as stressful that first year away from my job. I could have just stayed a little bit longer and created some different systems while I was at my job and continue to bring in income, getting a little bit better debt when I first left.
Awesome, man. Kyle, I really do appreciate you being on today. Is there some way if somebody wanted to reach out to you that they could?
Yeah, I would say Instagram. I'm pretty active there. It's KJ_root is my Instagram. Just go there, shoot me a DM. If you're trying to get started, I can help you out, push you in the right direction. Obviously, Bud, you're a part of some great stuff as well. But yeah, I just know there's tons of people out there that are experienced, that are willing to help people. And just taking the first step is really important. Like I said, don't be in the information gathering period too long. Make sure you're implementing.
Excellent. Great finishing words. Listen, Kyle, I really do appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bud.
Thanks for being a part of the Aim High community. Your support drives us to create valuable content, and we can't wait to see your success stories in real estate investing. Till next time, aim high, never stop learning. Bud Evans, signing off. We'll see you soon.